Chair Mariani, do you have any further testifiers?
Madam Chair, I do not.
Oh, oh.
Oh my goodness. All right.
Please come forward and go ahead and state your name for the record, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Leili Fatehi. I'm an attorney. I've spent over a decade developing and advocating for robust governance and oversight approaches to complex policy issues that have significant health, economic, or social implications, including as an academic researcher for several years at the University of Minnesota. I'm also the campaign manager for Minnesotans for Responsible Marijuana Regulation, or MRMR. We're a statewide, multi-partisan coalition and campaign that supports the legalization and responsible regulation of marijuana for safe adult recreational use in Minnesota. MRMR's members and supporters include former state legislators from both the Republican and DFL parties, medical doctors, indigenous community leaders, organized labor, civil society organizations like the NAACP, ACLU, National Council of Jewish Women, and others, and a growing list of mayors and city council members from across the state, ranging from Minneapolis to Red Wing to Fergus Falls, and many places in between. As we've been reaching out to communities and organizations and affinity groups and policymakers from all corners of Minnesota, what has been evident above all else is that Minnesotans from all walks of life want to know more and want to be engaged more about the opportunities and the risks of legalization as compared to those of prohibition, and about what legalization could mean and what legalization could look like in Minnesota, rather than being bystanders to a purely political question of whether or not we should legalize. For many of these Minnesotans, it's a matter of feeling that they don't have enough information or facts. They've seen marijuana legalized in other states, and they've seen it generate enormous amounts of tax revenue that has been used for investments in schools or public programs, infrastructure, but they also want to know more about the impacts of legalization on public safety and on public health. Still, many other Minnesotans feel that given rapidly changing public opinion on legalization, that legalization may be inevitable in Minnesota, but that if it's going to happen, we should make sure that it happens in a way that benefits rather than excludes Minnesota's farmers, that keeps our children safe from being advertised or sold cannabis products, that maintains the safety of our roads from those driving under the influence, and that redresses the disproportionate impacts that marijuana prohibition has had on people and on communities of colors. And that's why HF 717 has the support of organizations who have never in the past expressed support for a bill that's related to legalization. And I gotta say, this bill going through the committee process here in the House has opened up pretty incredible space for organizations like mine that are predisposed to supporting legalization and organizations that are predisposed to opposing legalization to acknowledge each other's concerns as being deserving of due consideration rather than just feeling adversarial towards each other, as well as to engage with legislators from across the political spectrum with that same spirit of true policy making for the public good. I mean, when you have the National Council of Jewish Women and the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus both supporting the same task force, it says something. And I thank many of you in the room for the conversations you've had with me over the course of the last few days over this bill and about legalization more generally over the last few days. I don't think it would have happened without this bill. Minnesotans are ready to talk meaningfully and truthfully about legalization, and we hope that you are ready to give them the venue and the opportunity to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fatehi, for your testimony today.